Welcome, everybody, to our Getting Started with Stock Investing webcast. I'm Connie Hill with Schwab Coaching. Happy that you would join me here today as we're going to have some fun. This class is meant for those of you that are new, but when you're new, how many of you really understand and know what you're looking for as far as the characteristics in stocks you might want on your watch list? Is that an automatic thing? I know for me, it wasn't really automatic. It took some looking around at some different variables, and we're going to do that today and hopefully make that job easier for you so you know what to put on a watch list. I am joined in the chat by Lee Bohl. He's a fellow coach and friend and a genius as well. I'm happy that he's here. If you have questions during our session live, go ahead and ask those. I'll pick it up or Lee will help me out with the question. If you're listening to this on the recording, like so many people do, put your question in the comments section. I'll go back and review those throughout the week. All right, so everybody should get their question answered here today. Now I am on X. My handle is listed right here. I am Connie Hill, CS as in Charles Schwab. Lee's handle is very similar, and he posts a lot of great stuff you don't want to miss out on. He is Lee Bohl, CS. So catch on those, follow us so you can catch those little tidbits that we share with you during the week that may be helpful and interesting to you. Well, let's go through our disclosures and then we'll lay out our agenda here. Investing in stocks can be volatile. It involves risk and it could include the loss of principal. Everybody's going to have a different situation when they talk about investing in the market. What we talk about today should be considered educational and for general informational purposes only. It shouldn't be considered a recommendation of any sort. In our series, we will use technical analysis, but Schwab does not recommend the use of solely of technical analysis in your research. We are going to be using the Paper Money software application. That's what you download to your computer of called Thinkorswim. That is the one we'll be using. It's different than the mobile. It's different than the web version. As we talk about different examples here today, just for simplicity, when we talk about expenses, we're not going to be including commissions and fees, but you want to make sure that you are considering commissions and fees as you make some decisions here. I just want to say a quick hello to some of you that are very friendly and here all the time, and I appreciate seeing you here again. Just have a quick hello to Douglas, Robert, China, Wiley, David. Let me scroll down a little bit here. Hope my mouse will cooperate. There we go. Eric, Mark, happy you're here as well. All right, our agenda. We are going to talk about some fundamental metrics that we might want to put in as we're looking for stocks. And I'm going to show you a couple different sources where we might look for that from. We're going to use and talk about, well, what things could we put in a search filter to help us find stocks we're interested in? And of course, we're going to look at several examples. I'm also going to show you a search that can help make your work go pretty quickly when you're looking for stocks. All right. Now, let's talk about some of the characteristics or the qualities that you might want on a stock in your watch list. The first of these is what we call a price to earnings ratio. And many people, you'll hear it referred to just as a PE ratio. Essentially, it's a ratio that gives us an idea how expensive is the stock relative to the earnings that it gives to shareholders or creates. So imagine with me, this is a little piggy bank, but imagine if it were a money machine. And if you put in $20 into the money machine and you get $1 out, if you like that scenario, or would you rather put $100 into the machine to get $1 of earnings out? Well, you might be thinking, I'd rather put in less money for the $1 of earnings. And so that's how people sometimes will look at the PE ratio, in that they might like smaller numbers better than really large numbers. Here the example is given that maybe something like a 20 or less is something some people might be looking for. When we go out to our scan, I'll show you, we're going to widen our parameters a little bit on that. Actually, quite a bit on that. Okay. Return on equity. Return on equity gives us an idea, hey, is the company actually creating some profits with the earnings that are generated? And so we look at that as far as a variable. Okay, so a return on equity of 20 5% would indicate that the company has generated 20 cents of profit for every $1 shareholder invests. Okay, yeah, you do the quick math there, that's about 20%. Is that nice? Well, actually, the higher the number, the better. Okay, some people might not want something lower than 10%. Some people might be accepting of different levels. And when we get over to our scan again, we're going to put in a variable different than 10. We're going to shoot a little bit higher. Okay, not that always higher is better, but for our examples here today, that's what we'll look for. And then volume. Do we want to trade in stocks that are kind of don't have a lot of traction, don't have much trading activity going on? No, we don't want to get stuck in a situation like that. We want to see some activity, make sure that it's easy to get into and out of, that you can just go ahead and submit a trade and there's enough trading going on that your order should get executed. That's what we want to look for. So we may put a value like 250,000. We're going to look at another resource in a minute that says 500,000. The idea is we're not looking for 5,000 shares a day or 10,000 shares a day. We're looking for a lot more than that to give us the liquidity that we need. And when we say liquidity, what does that really mean? It just means entries and X's that are easy, as well as you can have typically a narrower bid-ask spread. Bid-ask spread is simply, what do you have to buy it for? And what can you sell it for? And hopefully that number is really, really small. I mean, if it's like a penny, super. Maybe it's a nickel, maybe it's a little bit bigger than that, but the idea is to get it as small as we can. And when we have a lot of volume taking place, typically you're going to see tighter spreads. I'm just going to take a quick look at the chat, make sure that I don't have anything I need to address. So looks like we're doing good so far. All right, let's go look at some examples. Now, the first thing I want to show you is, where does this information come from? Did Connie and Lee just sit down and make up this criteria that we're going to look for? No, of course not. All right. I'm going to take you over, though, to the Schwab website, and I'm going to point out the course where a lot of the information that we're talking about is presented. And Wiley's in our session here today, and Wiley will be the first to tell you that courses help you a lot, because I've seen him say that in other sections in the chat, that makes your learning curve a whole lot easier when you have something to work off of versus just kind of all these ideas out in the financial, space that you're not really sure about. Okay, so we'll go to learn, and then I came over here to courses, and maybe I'll just kind of draw on that so you can see real quickly what the menu is. So learn, and then go to courses, and it'll take you to this page, and then we're going to scroll down here. Up, let me get my orange marker off. Here we go. We're going to scroll down to the third one down, stock trading with technical analysis. Now, as I go in here, we're going to basically layer some information on top of each other to set a really nice foundation for you with the information that's in here. And in our classes, I'm teaching you how to use the information. Okay, it's kind of like if you had a college course, that textbook would kind of be like this course we're looking at here. Going to the class and attending would be kind of like our website or our webcast that we do, right? You're coming to class, and we're going to see how to best apply the information you've been studying. So as we come down in the course, there's some different areas. Talks about technical analysis. We're going to be getting into that pretty soon. We talk about developing a plan, meaning kind of your own recipe that you want to follow for different types of trading that we talked about last week. Right now, we're going to focus on growth stocks. We're not going to focus on dividend producing stocks. We're not going to focus on looking for those value stocks that are trading at a bargain. And so keep the kind of the criteria we talk about today kind of in context with, all right, that is what we might look for growth stocks. And then down here at the bottom, you have a resource, and it says Stock Trading with Technical Analysis, Bull Flag Sample Investing Plan. Now, I'm just going to refer to that generically as the Sample Investing Plan. All right, so I already opened up, I already made it big. You can download this to to your computer. You can print it off. You can do whatever you want with it. I know some people, as they're trying to develop their plan, they might start here with this sample investing plan. And then as they paper trade and gain some experience, they might do a little bit of tweaking of some of the parameters that we're talking about here. Now, we talked about PE ratios and return on equity ratios in our slides. There's some other things we may want to consider here that it lays out for us in our sample investing plan. Now, the objective here, I should say it that way, is that we're going to try to trade short-term rallies in an intermediate uptrending stock. We will learn a little bit later what a bull flag price pattern is, because we'll teach you how to look for that. And then down here, what are we going to look for? We want upward momentum on the stocks, and basically that means higher highs and higher lows, right? That's what we would call an uptrend. If it's going sideways, yeah, maybe not so helpful to us, or even if it's going down, not so helpful. So we're really going to focus on that uptrend. All right, so we'll look for this intermediate uptrend. We are going to look for a minimum volume of 500,000. So the slide said 250,000, plan says 500,000. It can be something in that area, okay? It doesn't have to be exact. And then we're looking for, and this piece is consistent, stocks that are greater than $10 per share, so that we aren't trading really low volume stocks. And we talked about why that might be important. Let me take a quick look at the chat, see what I need to know, or what you're asking. Let's see. Kevin says, since my account hasn't moved over yet, can I get into the courses? So Kevin, I'm going to say that you're probably still, you have your accounts at TD Ameritrade. They haven't converted over yet. You do need a login to get to the website. Therefore, you do need an account. But you can go and set up an account with, I'm going to say, very little money, okay? I don't know the actual amount, but it could be something as low as less than $100, okay? If you have the idea that, hey, I want to set up a certain account anyway, go ahead, create that account. Then you can log into the Schwab site and have access to the information before your account is converted, your existing accounts. So great question about that. Now, if you are on TD Ameritrade, and actually, this is a great point as well, these courses are on the TD Ameritrade side. Under the courses, under the education, it's named a little bit differently, but it's basically stocks technical analysis that you're looking for. Okay, so actually, both the resources are on both websites. All right, Wiley, thanks for helping us out here. Appreciate that. All right. Let's take a look. Let's come over to the Thinkorswim, and I'm going to show you a scan that we can basically create and find the kind of stocks with the characteristics we've just been talking about. Some of you may be new to Thinkorswim, and that's okay. The platform is different, and there's a learning curve with it. We know that, so we teach a couple of classes about Thinkorswim. First class, that's getting started, which means very beginning. Okay, kind of like this class is getting started with stock investing. The getting started with Thinkorswim are for those of you that are brand new to it. Okay, so that's on Mondays, and I believe that's at 12 Eastern time. I might be off on that a little bit. Maybe that's something that I can have Lee look up for me to tell you the exact time. It's either at 12 Eastern or 2 Eastern. I forget which one. All right, let's hop on over to our Thinkorswim. And let's jump over it here. I do want to mention something before we go build our little scan. I want to mention something to you that I hope all of you have already done. And that is to subscribe to our Trader Talks channel on YouTube. It's really advantageous for you to be able to do it. And I'm just going to come over here for just a quick moment. We'll come back here. And once you hit that button, right now, it's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Looks like YouTube, but it's a code, or the color is blue instead of being like, you know, the big red button with the play on it in the middle. But it's the same icon. You click on that, and that will allow you to subscribe. And then when you subscribe, you have the ability to keep track of things a lot more easily. Okay, so we will show you what's coming up. Here are upcoming live streams. Now, right now, we're in this class, Getting Started with Stock Investing, because I didn't refresh the screen. If I did, it would say live. You can go in here and you can see what's being taught live. So that can be very helpful to you to see what's coming up. We have also some watch lists and some playlists. So, for example, say you're new and you're like, man, all this other stuff is just too much for me. Come over here to the playlist, and then you could find our class that we're working on right here, Getting Started with Stock Investing, or whatever it happens to be, or Getting Started with Thinkorswim. Here are select on playlists, and then you can scroll down and see what those different playlists are, and just maybe even focus on one or two of those. Okay, so that's an advantage. After you become a subscriber, just kind of makes your life a little bit easier. All right, now we'll head back to our Thinkorswim. And we're going to go to the Scan tab. Now, the Scan tab, let me just kind of put a mark around it here, kind of in the middle of these tabs here. Now, the Scan tab essentially means it's going to be our looker, right? It is going to go find what we tell it to look for. So we're going to take these different elements that we've talked about and build a scan and say, hey, you go look for that for us. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Lee. Lee is letting us know that it's on Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern. I was totally off with both of my guesses there. So thank you for looking up that information for us. Okay. Let's start building our scan. When you first come into the scan, this is what it looks like. Okay, if you've never seen it before and you go log in, this is how you're going to see it. What we're going to do is just add some different variables here. Now, I do want to point out a couple of things. Over here is the word stock, and this is telling us that this parameter of net change is in the stock filter. Well, there are more than one filter. We come over here to the right, we'll see a little button that says plus add filter, and we can select on that button, and there's the stock filter that's referenced over on the left, and then we have some other filters, and using this is how we're going to create this little scan here today. Oh my goodness, all right, it looks like I just looked over into our chat. Let me look at a couple of things here. Mario says, I have a Street Smart Central account, and I think I have to move to Thinkorswim all at once. Why not give the ability to trade in both for a month or so I can get used to the new platform? Mario, I'm going to take a moment and pause and answer your question. Before we started having conversions over to Thinkorswim, I taught some classes specifically to Schwab people, okay, to get them a little bit familiar and comfortable with the software. One of the things I learned is that once your account, well, it sounds to me like you are a Schwab person, right? Right now, you can still trade in your Schwab account, all right? What you can do is you can go download Thinkorswim. You can start practicing on it, start using it. You have to tell Schwab when you're ready to cut over. Okay, so you come out here, practice some of the things you're learning in the classes, things that you typically do and you want to know how to do on Thinkorswim, practice those. And then when you're feeling comfortable with it, then you have Schwab switch it over for you. Okay, it's not an automatic thing. You could be doing all your trades out of SSE or whatever you use. Yours was a Street Smart Central. Whatever you're using right now, continue to use it while you practice in Thinkorswim. So I appreciate you bringing that up because that answer can add clarity for everybody else. I'm also noticing in the chat a survey. Now, those of you that have been with us for a little bit of time know that from time to time we will give you a survey because we're soliciting your feedback. Now, on this survey, it's like probably one of the easiest ones ever. Okay, there's 2 questions on it, and you just fill in the radio button that corresponds to your feelings. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think? And then just fill in the radio button. Then there are 2 additional questions that we ask you a question, and you can either answer the question, or I encourage you, if it's a class of mine, you can feed me some information that you think I would find helpful, or information like, I'm kind of struggling with XYZ. Is this something that maybe you can touch on in one of your upcoming classes? I love receiving your feedback and being able to know kind of the concerns on your mind so I can tie them into our lessons as we go through things, okay? You don't have to complete the survey yet. You can do it at the end of the class, but to have the link, if you want, just go ahead and select on it, and then it can just sit there in the background till we're finished with the class, or if you need to leave a little bit early, right, then the survey's there for you. All right, we'll come on back here to build this scan. So we're going to use a couple of things on here. First thing we're going to look for is the stock price. Do you guys remember the magic number we said? Look for stocks over the price of X. Do you remember what X was? Well, we're going to select it here. And I'm going to choose last, which means the last price. Okay. Does $10 sound right? Yeah. We said look for stocks greater than $10. And over here on the right, where this orange circle is, that's letting us know if everything on here represents every stock there is. There's a huge section of stocks here that are over $10. And the part that maybe isn't as filled in, okay, like this little spot here. Oh, I was going to try to draw it for you. Let me try that again right here. That's the area of the stocks that are less than $10. Okay, so certainly the majority of them are over $10. All right, next thing, we're going to add some fundamental information. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on this X. We are not going to use these bottom two. One thing you should know, this volume here, you might go, oh, Connie, we needed volume. Don't you remember? And of course I do. This volume is for today's volume. And in actuality, we're looking for average volume. And if we put, say, our 250 or our 500,000 in here, at the time you run the scan, it would be searching for stocks that have at least, say, 500,000 of trading today. So this volume is today's volume. We want to use some average. So that's why we're going to X and get rid of both of these right now. Okay, now let's add some of those fundamental filters we talked about. I'm going to select on the add filter. We're going to choose fundamental twice. And you remember the couple of fundamental things we talked about? The first one was a price earnings ratio. So from the fundamental filter, let's go find it. Select the down arrow. And we are going to come down to price. And we're going to look for that price earnings ratio. And on the slides, it had kind of a range that it suggested that some people might want to look for. And remember, this is the number that typically a lower number is better than possibly a higher number, right? Do you want to put $20 of or $20 to get $1 of earnings out in the money machine, or would you prefer $100 to get $1 of earnings out? Well, in this particular scan, because we want to scan for growth stocks, we're going to be a lot more liberal in that PE ratio. When we're really focusing on finding dividend-paying stocks and sometimes on bargain stocks, we will not be as lenient with the PE ratio that we're going to put in this scan. Okay, so we are going to look for anything from, we're going to look for 7, and we're going to top it out at 80. Why so high? Some of you, if you're familiar with PE ratio, some of you might get a little squeamish here at an 80, because growth stocks have a tendency to trade based on their expected earnings in the future, not necessarily what they're doing right now. Okay, so that's why we're going to keep that PE ratio. We're going to be pretty flexible with it. Then our other fundamental filter we were looking at was return on equity, right? We're looking for those companies that are basically creating a return for their shareholders. We want them to be basically making some money. So on our return on equity, it suggested in the slides, it said, some people might want to put it at 10 as a minimum, but there are other reasons you might put in a different number. We're going to up our standard a little bit, and so we're going to put it at 15. Would like to see at least a 15% return. Now, stocks that are in growing mode, we should be able to find a lot of those. Stocks that have plateaued, they're not growing anymore. Maybe they're mature stocks that are rewarding their shareholders with dividends. They might not be producing a return on equity of 15%. Okay, so that's why I'm saying we're targeting growth stocks. We're going to put in 3 more filters here. As I select on this, we're going to put in study filters. We're going to put in 3 of them. And I need to let you know the study filter in your paper money does not work. What does that mean to you? That means you'll have to go to your live side of your Thinkorswim platform. From that side, create the scan, get back the results, and then maybe save a little watch list, and then load that watch list into the paper side of things. Okay. Now with my demo account, it's part paper, part real as far as functionality goes. So that's why it's working on mine. So it's for our demonstration account. Now in these studies, we're going to look for 3 things. So one, I told you, was volume. We're going to look for average volume. So there are really a lot of different studies in this study filter, but we're going to go straight down to volume. We're just going to choose average volume. So we're going to look for average volume over a certain period of time. The default here is 50. I'm going to shorten that a little bit. I'm going to put it in at 30 days, so about 6 weeks. And then the default is looking for an average of volume that's greater than 1 million shares. Well, in our discussion previously, we didn't need it to be that high, did we? We said, we can take it down a little bit. And so for our purposes, we're going to do 500,000. I just want to make sure I've got all my zeros. Don't put any decimals or commas, just put in the actual number. Now, in our criteria, when we were looking at the sample investing plan for Bold Flags, it talked about looking for upward trending stocks. Well, there's nothing on here. Well, there really is, but there's nothing here that's very specific to say, send me a trend that is upward for this period of time, but we can build it. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to look for changes of price. So we're going to click on our study. We're going to come down to price performance, and we're going to choose price change. And then we're going to say, hey, how much do we want this stock to be up over a certain period of time? So this period of time here, we're going to look for a close that is at least a certain percent. Now I'm going to take away the 2, and I'm going to put in a price increase of 15% greater than it was however many trading days ago it was. So the number of trading days, here we're going to put it 65. That's about a quarter's worth of trading. So over the last quarter, we're essentially looking for the stock to be up 15%. And then to help us identify stocks that maybe aren't going up 15% on the quarter, but they've rolled over and they're starting to go down, we are going to look for stocks that are also in the last month trending up. So we're going to grab another price performance again, another price change here. We're going to put this at 5%, and we're going to put it over the last 21 days. Okay, 21 trading days, that's about a month, isn't it? So this is going to be looking for this criteria. Now, go ahead. I hope you've made some good notes here. I don't care if you copy my search and run it yourself as a baseline, right? And then kind of put your own tweaks into it based on your experience as you paper trade, okay? If you like this scan or want to keep it right after you've built it, click on this little icon here that's just to the right of this flame, which is our sizzle index. Go ahead and hit Save Scan Query, and then you're going to want to give it a name. Don't say Connie Search. Connie was going to teach you so many searches, but you might put something in there related to, maybe PE between 7 and 80, return on equity of at least 15, things of that nature that'll help you know. On mine, I call it growth stocks, or our growth stocks class. That's what I call it. So I'm not going to save it again because I don't need to. I don't want to junk up my interface, but that's how you'd save it. How many do you think will come back here? I have here, the default here is 50. I'm going to put 200. I don't think we're going to get more than 200 here today. And what it looks like, it's showing us 45. Now, if you have gone out into the scan and you've built this scan here, and you're comparing the results to mine, I want you to know that the columns I've kind of changed up. Okay, so the columns that come back here, I've changed them from what the default is when the system is brand new. Okay, so yours may look a little bit different, and that's okay. But we have 45 stocks here. Awesome. Is that a good group to maybe use as a watch list for a week or two? Absolutely, to kind of test out how Thinkorswim works and test out, this may be possibly brand new information to a lot of you that is kind of gives you some structure. Now, when I first started to trade, I didn't have this kind of structure. I didn't know what kind of a PE ratio I wanted. I didn't know that I wanted return on equity. I knew I wanted something that was going up, but I didn't necessarily have a concept for, all the things that I might want to put in there to look for. And out of a huge world of stocks, to have it come back with 45, it's like, well, that's a pretty specific group. Now, in a minute, we're going to kind of look at the results right here. If you just wanted to work off of this, you could. If you saved the scan, okay, by hitting that, and I'll just show you on mine, I called mine previously when I built it, growth stocks class. Well, see this little purple icon here? That little purple icon lets you know it's dynamic, which means results change. Now I can come over here in the left-hand side where my watch list is, and I can open up a watch list here, and I can pull up this same growth stocks class watch list that's based off of this scan that we just created. Now, I have it sorted alphabetically here, so you can see, the results, you go down there, these are all the same stocks. Awesome, because now I want to show you what we're looking at here. So let's take Airbnb. We said we're looking for an upward trending stock. We can look at it on a 1 year. And some people will say, well, as long as it's higher than where it was a year ago, great. But you also kind of want to know what's been happening more recently. This red line here is a 50-period moving average, which measures an intermediate trend. And it's that intermediate trend that we're really focusing on for stocks in this particular class. So if we come through here and say, well, yeah, that is an upward trending stock, yeah, we're interested in that. And I'm going to shorten the time frame just so we get a better look at the stocks. And I'm going to go down this list just a little bit. So we had Airbnb, we have Arista Networks, we have Abercrombie and Fitch. Are all these stocks upward trending? Yeah, they are. Whoa, some of them had some huge breakouts today. Interesting. But you can see if you're not sure if the price is going up, making higher highs and higher lows, you can at least use the recent part of this line. Sometimes I'll use a 50-day moving average. Sometimes I'll use a 30-day. Today I decided to go with the 50. And you can see for the most part, yeah, these stocks are upward trending. Now, it's not that hard to build the scan. You can build it, you can save it, and then you could use this as your working watch list if you save it out as a physical watch list. Or you can come over here, and as it changes a little bit day to day, a lot of the same stocks are going to stay the same. The results of this, you could work off of this as it changes a little bit day by day too. It's just kind of up to you. All right. Now, I'm not going to expect that every stock on this that came back is the perfect for us. Okay. There could be some flaws in it. Even though it's upward trending, it might not continue to go up, right? But at least if it's in a particular trend, it's more likely to continue in that trend, but it's never guaranteed. Now, what I want to do in every one of our classes, I want to walk you through the process of placing a trade on the Thinkorswim platform. All right, just to get those mechanics down, because I want you to be practicing in your paper money. Okay, I want you to say, I know I don't know a lot, but I'm going to practice what I know, and I'm going to practice that out in paper money. Now, let me look real quickly here. I think there's a question I need to answer. Let's see, James says, I need to copy off all of the details of Street Smart Edge, stops, etc., because you won't be able to see them once the switch over to Thinkorswim. Okay, so James maybe has some information. Maybe that's from personal experience. I don't know. But James, we appreciate you sharing what you know with the rest of us here. Because, yeah, you're right, James. Not every single data piece is going to convert. You're absolutely right. And I think that's what James is referring to here. All right. A couple of stocks here that we're going to take a look at. Now, Airbnb. Despite the big move here today, they didn't announce their earnings. Their earnings last were on November 1st, so we're probably not going to see them till around February 1st. All right. But they did have a big move today. This move that we're seeing, I have an area of resistance, which we're going to learn about, right? Next week, actually. We have an area of resistance. And it looks like today the stock closed above it. Now, depending on where you might see ceilings on charts, you might put it in a little bit different place than I put it. Okay. And you might go, Connie, I'm not so conclusive that it really is a breakout. We're going to use it as a breakout entry today, but the thing that kind of sets it apart a little bit is the volume. That's what we have down here on that next level is the volume. And this purple line is average volume. And today, our average volume looked like it was about 4.5 million shares is the average volume. Looks like today it was over 11 million. So more than twice the average. When we see lots of volume move in on a day when a stock's breaking resistance, that gives us a little bit more confidence that the stock is likely to stay above that breakout point. Now, if it were just kind of like right up to the line and had kind of dinky volume, you might not have the same confidence level in it. But I do want to walk you through the example trade just to get this process going. I'm going to come over here to the trade tab. We're not really using options here. We're just going to focus on the information here at the top. Looks like the last price was 149.62, and after the market closes, the bid and the ask spreads just kind of artificially widen up. Okay, so you have to watch that because I looked at one the other day and it was like $100 more than where it closed. Right, but we're going to select on the asking price here. It's going to bring up an order for us. And I'm going to collapse my left side so we can see more of it. And this is just the default. Okay, the default is 100 shares of stock of this ticker symbol, Airbnb. We have the price that was the asking price that it just floods in the information. You can keep that, or if it's substantially different, you could change it. Or if you're like, I am not willing to pay over this price, go ahead and put it in. All right. For right now, you're practicing, you're learning. I don't think it will harm you to just kind of take maybe what the defaults are unless you notice a huge discrepancy. Okay, we're going to put it a limit order, whatever this price is. That means I don't want to pay a penny more than that. That is my limit. We're just going to put it in as a day. Now, right now the market is closed, so this means it's going to sit out in the queue until the market opens again on Monday. All right, so that's fine. That's not a problem. I did some position sizing before our class started, which means determined what we shouldn't buy more than, how many shares that would be. And we should not buy more than 50 for our account size. Now, I'm not going to go through that formula here today, but we will spend a whole session on how to manage your risk and some things that are going to help you with that regard. So we're just going to buy 50. We are going to come over here and hit confirm and send and just kind of read through it. Make sure that you didn't put in a wrong number, right? Maybe make sure you're not buying 500 shares when you only needed 50 and so forth. Okay, just kind of read through it. Sometimes this is where we find mistakes. I am going to put this in a grouping. I'm going to put it down here in our growth stocks. Is that what I want to do? No, I want to put it in getting started with stock investing. That's the bucket I want to put it in. We're going to go ahead. We're going to send it off. Now, we did do a trade last week. It's not my intent to look really closely at these trades, but I will say we did this VST. I'm going to put my mouse here. We got in, actually, it wasn't last week, it was earlier, the 16th, we got into it. And so we're just watching it right now. We're not doing anything necessarily. We're happy we're up on the trade so far. Okay. But this was more to show you some mechanics as opposed to following a particular strategy all the way through like we do in so many of our other classes. Now, let me take a quick look here. Okay, Gina has a great question here. And then I also want to answer another question that one of you asked me as we get wrapping up here. So Gina says, can you tell me how to go back and forth from paper to reel without signing out? On the downloaded software, there's not a way to do that. You can either be in paper or in live. But the one nice thing about Windows is you can have multiple versions open. So tell you what, I'm going to come out and open up another version of Thinkorswim. It's on my other screen, so you're not going to see it here. But let me just bring it up. Just kind of so you can see. And it's bringing it up. Let's see, it's flashing at me. Here we go. I'm going to drag it over so you can see. All right. This is another instance of Thinkorswim. So in my account that I share with you, I have it in the live trading, and to go to paper, all you do is click on that. I could put in my password and I could have the paper money open at the same time as the live account. That's pretty slick. If you are working on Thinkorswim Web, there's just a little icon and you can easily switch back and forth between the two. I know Thinkorswim it's a robust system, right? There's a learning curve to it. If you feel like you're at a point that simplicity is easier for you, you might opt for Thinkorswim Web. And we have some webcasts. If you go out to this and subscribe to the channel, there is a playlist of Thinkorswim mobile or Thinkorswim website. What do we call it? Web Thinkorswim, I guess, that Brent Moores has done to help you on that learning curve with that particular software. Okay, so you know this way with the desktop, and I just told you about the one on the web. Wiley says at one point you had 6 open at one time. Hey, if you've got the computer to support it and you have a reason, that's awesome. I love power, computer power. How long are the recorded training sessions kept so that I can review them? You know, right now we haven't taken any down. We started brand new with our kind of our merging of our education and broadcasting of our webcasts on November 6th. So far, pretty much they're all out there, and you will see them for a long period of time. Most people are looking at them within a couple of weeks, and so we don't see a lot of hits on them after a couple of weeks, but quite honestly, they're out there for you. There's no predetermined date at which they're going to come down. Okay, so appreciate you asking that. Mark says Thinkorswim Web. Is there a particular question there about Thinkorswim Web, Mark? Feel free to ask it. I'm going to jump back to our slides here. You might have a question. I'll wait for Mark's question to come in here as we wrap up. But today we really focused on what you might want to put on your watch list, right? I said, is it easy to do when you're brand new? And it's not. So that's why we're giving you some guidelines. And we're going to use that watch list that we created. We're going to continue to use it over the next few weeks. Let's see. Douglas says, we might save the save scan, not show in the watch list sidebar. Right. Okay, your question is, why might not it show up in the left sidebar on Thinkorswim? Let me jump over here. This will be our kind of our last question to look at. If you saved the scan, that's when it'll show up on the left-hand side as you go and look for that watch list. So my personal watch list, this one, growth stocks class. However, if you came over here to the results, let's get to the top here, and you said save, wrong one, save, where did it go? make sure I'm in the wrong tab. That's what's wrong. Over here on the results from the scan, you can save it as a watch list here. Like I'll just call this 2. I don't think I have one called 2. Okay, then you can pull it up here as a fixed watch list. Okay, and then it shows up. But if it's the dynamic watch list, growth stocks class, then that's when it's going to be continually changing as the information changes throughout the day. Like in the morning, maybe there's only 15, and by the time we're finished at the end of the day, there's 45 like there are here today. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So Douglas, you said you saved it, so you just have to know whatever it was that you called it, come down to personal, and then go pull it up. All right. You guys have been great. Next week, we're going to get on to technical analysis. Technical analysis is going to be real critical. So maybe what your next thing to do is join us for that webcast next time. And then we do a special getting started with technical analysis with Cameron May on Mondays. And that is a real helpful webcast that kind of goes hand in hand with this webcast. I'll set the stage for you with some basics, and then you can head on over to Cameron's class on Mondays. All right, everyone, appreciate you being here. Have a fantastic weekend. Lee, thanks for your assistance here as well. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.